for another Teach Talks. I still need to get my screen sharing up, so give me just a second. Okay, share that, share. Okay, there we go. We are talking about creating better asynchronous lectures and other instructional videos. This kind of goes along with the last several tech and teach talks that we've been doing about Panopto recordings and video recording in general. And I think this is the last one in that series of topics, if I remember correctly. So we're going to kind of try to wrap it up with some pedagogical concepts and best practices for making lecture videos that are better, more engaging, more effective, more likely for your students to pay attention and actually get something from them. So this is not a technical session at all. This is more based on pedagogy, a bit of research that I've been able to find, some lit review that I did, and then we can just kind of have a conversation with it, I think. So
sounds great.
All right, so here is my overview here, just some of the topics that I want to try to get to in the next 25 minutes. Video or no video, like when should you even do video in the first place? When does it make sense? When does it not make sense? Probably the question that we get most regularly when it comes to video stuff, I think, is how long should a video be actually? I want to talk about the difference between putting a lot of effort into your production and putting a lot of effort into the authenticity of your videos. How do we get students to watch videos? Obviously, kind of important. And then I'll wrap it up with just a handful of best practices. So I'm going to jump right in. So first things first, when does it even make sense to produce videos or use videos? There's quite a bit of research that's been done on this over the years. A fairly recent one that I liked was kind of a systematic lit review or a meta-analysis of studies about video in higher education. You can look that up later. I will put the slide deck in Canvas later, so you can look at my slides and find my research later. But in this meta-analysis, what they found based on many different studies over the last 20 years or so, instructional video content in general increases student autonomy and self-direction. And a lot of that is based on like cognitive learning theory, that when you have control over the speed and the pacing at which the content is being delivered to you, you feel like you're in more control because you can pause the video, you can replay it, you can go faster, or you can skim through parts that maybe you feel are not relevant at that moment. And they found that that is a very useful indicator of the effectiveness of video. They've also found that in general, just as an axiom, anytime you can replace or supplement other kinds of instructional materials, whether it's text only, slide only, images only, if you can, in addition to that or instead of that, provide video content, it does improve student learning outcomes. But I think the thing that I found most interesting about this meta-analysis was videos are far more effective at transferring skills than they are at transferring concepts. So yes, a lecture video just about knowledge concepts in the content that you're teaching is useful, but it's far more useful if you can produce videos that involve any kind of demonstration, simulation, active creation, screen recordings, and that's true in all fields. So like some obvious ones that we see a lot are, and Nick, I think you were talking to me about this earlier, like nursing or medical field demonstration videos where they're demonstrating a close procedure on video. Obviously, there's so much benefit to that as opposed to really any other modality, even perhaps even more useful than being in a lab space because you don't have to all crowd around a single person.
Exactly.
You can see something in extreme high detail, watch it over and over again, speed it up, slow it down, replay it, and there's a lot of value to that. But I think that that's true in really many different content areas. I'm just looking at who we've got in the chat, like whether it's accounting, Excel spreadsheets, being able to show a recording of how to complete a procedure is I think super helpful and useful. Let's see, a couple of years ago, our lovely colleague Melanie did a presentation at the Washington Annual Conference, and she was talking about the value in diagramming in her field in geology or in other STEM fields of like actually drawing out diagrams and potentially recording yourself as you do that. Hey, come on in. Oh yeah, come on in. We rarely get live Tech Talks participants, but that's awesome. Come on in. Yeah, you are. So I guess my point there is anytime. What are you?
Showing you that it's actually 1:02 and your clock says 1:11, which is why everybody is joining late.
Oh, that's awesome. How did that happen?
I was super confused. I was like, wait a minute, what's happening?
That's hilarious. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have
This clock says 1:11
I have no
on
idea
the computer.
how that happened. What does your clock say?
103.
Okay.
It hasn't technically started.
Oh,
my
gee.
gosh.
You know what? Let's relax for a minute.
I'll take a breath.
Let's all take a breath. Jeez. I don't-
doing great too.
I was feeling,
You're in a flow state.
but I was also really sad that nobody showed up for my Teach Talks. But that's because I started 10 minutes early and I don't know how I did that.
Well, thank you for being such kind individuals.
Yeah.
Blowing up the chat.
Yeah. You were just gonna go with it and try to catch up with me.
Oh.
Okay,
Like, look at
that's
my
totally
phone.
cool.
Oh my god. Yeah.
I started 10 minutes ago because my computer said that it started 10 minutes ago.
Keep the live stream going?
And
I feel
thank you,
like
Jennifer.
it's for-
Yeah, we'll keep
We-
going,
we gotta
whatever.
Remember that.
Yeah,
just
it's cool.
for Proof that we're not crazy.
Yeah, I'm gonna start over.
Minute, 2 minutes.
Yeah,
What?
you're,
Oh my god.
I'm gonna go get you a treat.
oh, thank you. I
Holy crap.
have never seen,
Yeah. your
my
clock-
computer's supposed to sync its clock.
It's supposed to be the only right thing. in
It's the
room.
only clock that I trust.
Yeah.
I don't trust the clock on the wall.
I-
Okay, whatever.
That's.
No, you're
Yep,
You're right.
104.
okay.
You have clock trauma now that you will have to resolve.
I do. I'm
Your,
never,
your computer is gaslighting you.
I'm never gonna trust it again. Yeah.
Good.
All right. Well, then, yeah, we're not gonna start for another minute.
Well, it was so funny because we were like, oh crap, we're like late for the TED Talk. Oh, we've been messing around and we haven't even gotten the live stream going.
Yeah. Well, and I was playing it cool, but I was like, what's wrong with you guys? You have no sense of urgency right now. I'm over here trying to get the audio working. All right, it's cool. It's cool. I'm not worried about
It feels like it's Monday.
it. I don't know what day. I don't know what time it is, obviously. So
It's good to see you all.
yeah. All right.
We
Thanks for
can
coming.
blame the AWS outage.
I mean, it might be.
It's a week delay.
Yeah. All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us for another Teach Talks. This is, oh, thank you. This is kind of a wrap-up session after the last 2 or 3 tech and Teach Talks that we've been doing around video, whether it's Panopto, whether it's student video, whether it's video engagement. This is kind of the last one on that theme for the quarter. So this is going to be more of a little bit of pedagogy and research surrounding I said better asynchronous lectures, but really it's just better asynchronous videos, I think.
Good catch.
Okay, so here are kind of the quick bullet points that I want to try to cover in the next 25 minutes, now that I actually have 25 minutes to do it. I want to first briefly talk about when does it make the most sense to do video. Then I want to try to give an answer, although as we'll find out, it's not necessarily the answer, but an answer to how long should lecture videos be, really. Then I want to spend some time talking about kind of the difference or the value between putting a lot of effort and time and energy into high production values in your videos as opposed to making videos that are high authenticity. And then I think a very important question that obviously people would like to know the answer to, how do we get them to watch the videos? And then I'll wrap up with just a few best practices that kind of are reiterating some of these things, and then a couple other things that I think are worth mentioning and that I think are important. All right. So first question is to video or not to video, right? There's a lot of research out there that's been done in the last I think 10 or 15 years, particularly since like 2020, when everybody was doing all this emergency instruction, everybody was pivoting to video, and then there's a lot of research and experimentation done during that time. But one source that I found useful was this Video Improves Learning in Higher Education, a systematic review, where they did kind of a meta-analysis of dozens of other studies and experiments surrounding students and video. It's worth reading. There's a citation there. I'll make sure that this PowerPoint deck is in our FactDev module in Canvas later, so you can look at this if you want. But what they found is one of the most reliable indicators of the value of video was increasing student autonomy and self-direction. And they pointed to kind of cognitive load theory for a lot of this. This idea of there's only so much information you can absorb at any given time, and that is impacted by things like your own physical and mental state, the environment that you're in, time constraints, stress and anxiety levels. But they found that one of the most valuable things for instructional video content is that it gives you more control over those things, because you can pause a video, you can rewind a video, you can watch it twice, you can speed up if it's if the speaker is slower than you would like. We know that many students will watch videos at like 1.5 times speed, 2 times speed, because it's a way of managing your cognitive load. So that's very valuable. The meta-analysis of all these different studies found that overall, almost any time you replace or supplement non-video instructional materials, whether it's text, whether it's a slide deck, whether it's images, whether it's a textbook, almost every time those were supplemented or reproduced in video form, it improves student learning outcomes. But I think the most interesting thing from that is that especially videos are more effective at transferring skills than at transferring concepts. So yes, there is instructional value in recording a lecture that talks about a concept or knowledge transfer about the content that you're teaching, but most effective is demonstrating something, doing a simulation, taking a screen recording. Ooh, I'm seeing a big thing in the chat here. Ben's got a great example. Students in the culinary department stressed how much better the learning experiences was to watch a well-produced recording of culinary processes rather than huddling around the table to watch. And I was talking about this to Nick before I realized that I was 10 minutes early. But they also see a lot of that in like the medical and nursing classes, phlebotomy and those things, where they're demonstrating a close-up procedure, like on a patient, like inserting a needle or whatever. Yes, you can do that in a lab by having everybody huddle around you, but it's actually a superior experience in many cases to be able to watch a well-made video of that thing, because you can slow it down, you can watch it over and over again, you can watch it and then practice, watch it and then practice. So I think there's a lot of value in that. But I think the point that I would like to make is that's not just true for very hands-on fields, I think. Yes, it's true for culinary, it's true for nursing, but I think that it can be true in many fields, including ones that maybe people don't think of in that way. I think that even in a humanities class, a literature class, an English class, I think if you could record the dissection of a sentence, or record yourself annotating and doing a close reading of a paragraph or a story or something, that is demonstration, that's simulation. And I think there's a lot of instructional value to that. Ben says, yeah, in the case of the culinary arts, that required changing the setup in their kitchen to allow for that kind of lecture recording. So in some cases, yeah, that might require infrastructure, but
Hang a cell phone from a string.
I mean, we've seen very simple, creative ways. Yeah, a cardboard box that you put your phone on, and then you just have a piece of paper and you draw with a pencil on it like that. That is a perfectly valid way to do diagramming, sketching, anything like that. And there's evidence, there's research that shows that this produces better learning outcomes for students.
And something this also reminds me of is we've had instructors who in their field, they've gone on location and they can demonstrate things about I guess, an environment that way as well. So it doesn't always have to be something close up like you're saying.
Yes.
It could be just going to a place and here is this thing and this is why it aligns with our concepts and we kind of,
Absolutely.
on the fly, which is cool.
Absolutely. Cameron McCormick is not on here right now. Otherwise, I'd pick on him. But he does some really delightful videos for his. Oh, Jennifer. Jennifer would like to do a instructional field trip to Hawaii and record a lecture while a volcano is erupting behind her. And I think that's a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
But
Very safe.
very safe. But Cameron does recordings, field recordings in and around his house and his neighborhood in the Spokane area for his geography classes. And production wise, it's incredibly simple. It's just a cell phone. And I think he maybe uses a lav mic to make better sound quality. But that's it. There's no like film crew with him. It's just him. And I think one person helps him do the filming. But I love those videos of his because they are very authentic. They're very place bound. He gets to demonstrate things by pointing to actual features on the ground around him. And I think that's great. Tom has heard of a course there, the history of national park system, where the instructor taught by going from park to park in his camper. Yeah. I mean, if you could make the case for your sabbatical to do something like that, I say go for it. Okay, moving forward. So, age-old question, how long should a video be really? And the answer is, I don't know. It's complicated. But the answer is also 12 minutes or less. So different studies have measured different data points in different environments, and they make very different assumptions about what constitutes focus or engagement or attention. Like some of them are doing galvanic skin response measurements where they're like putting electrodes on people's body, or they're doing eye tracking, or they're asking them questions afterwards, or they're quizzing them on it 3 weeks later. There's so many different ways to measure how well somebody is paying attention to a video that it's really hard to get hard and fast answers from that. I think when I was doing a bit of research on this, the most commonly cited study from, I think, 2006 is the one where a lot of people got the 6 minutes or less number from. What I perceive as the flaw in that study, though, is it exclusively focused on MOOCs, on those massively online courses where thousands of people are taking it at a self-paced way, sometimes for college credit, sometimes not, sometimes they're paying, sometimes it's free. And a lot of the criticism of that study I found is that it's really hard to know what the student's objective was in those situations. So if they're just watching those videos because they're interested or for fun, then they probably aren't going to watch as much as a student who has paid to take a class and is then being graded on it. This study from 2015 talks about that and kind of deconstructs it a little bit, the myth of the 6-minute rule. And in their tests in several online college classes, they found that actually most students would, let's see, the median amount of time that students watched a video in one sitting was 12 minutes. And then the mean, I think, was 20 minutes. Maybe it's reversed. I always forget which one's which. Doesn't matter. But the other thing that they found was, on average, students watched 90% of the video content in those classes when they are being graded on it. They just didn't watch it all at once. They watched it in roughly 12-minute chunks. So I think when we think about this time limit thing, it kind of depends. There is, that being said, a lot of value in shorter videos. For one thing, they are more reusable. If your videos are focused on a single concept, then it's much easier to reconfigure those in different ways. Maybe you're teaching 3 different classes in your subject area, and you might be able to reuse one 12-minute video 3 times, rather than having to re-record a 40-minute video for every single class because the content is different. In some cases, the concepts are similar enough that you can reuse those. It's also more sustainable. It's also easier to re-record and recreate and update video content as needed. Okay, what are people saying in the chat here? Jennifer says, TikTok recommends catching the viewer in the first 3 seconds with a quick map of the concept. Interesting. That would be really hard to do in some cases. And then Tom has a link to another research also about MOOCs. Tom, what was their recommendation in that one?
That whole paper is actually it's a fairly large scale study from MIT in their edX courses, 6.9 million video watching sessions that they crunched. And they across 4 edX courses, and they found that they provide a list of recommended strategies for creating instructional video. And the upshot is basically like your in-person teaching strategies don't work. You can't just do like in class, like it's an in-class lecture. You have to plan it specifically for the medium and acknowledge what's going on with people, basically. And yeah, it's like, and I think they say like 11 minutes ish or something, but there's like the whole findings area is full of recommendations for what you should do as an instructor to create your video.
Cool.
Like allowing people options to practice while they're watching, right? Like kind of and that's that whole interleaving practice between like acquisition and practice, right? So that it sticks. But yeah.
Totally. I think I'll talk a little bit about that in the next couple of slides. Next, I want to talk a little bit about this idea of production values versus authenticity. Again, there have been not a ton of research on this topic, but a little bit that I found. And unfortunately, it's mostly like qualitative survey kind of data, because it's a little harder to measure outcomes with this. But that being said, when students were shown different versions of the same content that were either more kind of low tech produced by an instructor versus much higher production values with multiple camera angles and editing techniques and quick cuts and background music and all those things, students mostly preferred materials prepared by an instructor rather than materials prepared by some outside entity, like a textbook publisher or a media team or something. Students also reported feeling higher satisfaction and engagement after watching videos when they perceive that the instructor was putting in more effort and was demonstrating more enthusiasm. So it seems that the instructor's passion and interest in the subject is far more important than the production values of the video itself. There was little evidence of actual learning outcome improvement from videos with higher production values, music, effects, etc. From what I've seen, it's kind of a wash. It's not that one is better or worse than the other. It's that it doesn't really seem to make much difference. So I think when we're thinking about where are we spending our time and energy when it comes to making videos, I think simpler is probably better. I think personal is better. Again, thinking of Cameron's videos of just going out into the woods and filming yourself around a creek while you talk about waterways in a geography class, or looking at a rock outcropping and talking about that in geology, or doing a screen recording, walking through a procedure in Excel. I think those are far more impactful for students. And how are we doing on time? Because I can't trust my watch, my clock anymore. We're doing fine. We're good. So another very common question, how do we get them to watch the videos? Our good friend Flower Darby, who we love very much and have had at the Learning Academy in the past, I think that was in Small Teaching Online, is where her and Lang described online students as ruthlessly efficient learners, who, and I'm sure you've seen these students who will access content minimally, as little access as they feel they need in order to pass a class, even when they are told that the content is essential. So, we know, for better or for worse, that many students will not sit and watch videos, even if you tell them it's important, unless there is some kind of activity tied to it. It doesn't necessarily have to be a grade, although in many cases it is a grade. Yeah, like Tom says, content is only essential if it's essential. Just because you think it's essential and just because you tell your students it's essential, prove it, right? It's essential if students need that content in order to do or demonstrate something in many cases. So there are easier and there are harder ways to do this, but a very easy one, and something that we've talked about in Tech Talks before, is just embedding quiz questions or other interactive activities within the videos. It's extremely easy to do this with Panopto. You can make it graded or ungraded. You can turn it into an actual graded quiz that goes in the gradebook and does it automatically. And when you put a point value on something, students are more likely to do it. Okay, I'm just looking at the chat here. Yeah, Jennifer says, what is essential should be tied to student learning outcomes. And yes, I agree. I think the trick is getting students to recognize that. And sometimes we kind of have to force them a little bit, I think. Another thing you can do is tying video content to assignments. I see some instructors, they'll do this within the assignment itself in Canvas, is the video is embedded in the assignment instructions. And then the assignment is something like, watch this video and then reflect on the following questions or something like that. You simply cannot complete that assignment without having watched the video. So that's kind of a built-in requirement of having to engage with that content. Another thing that's nice about these kinds of things, whether it's embedded quiz questions in a video, reflection activity, critical questions, is it is somewhat AI resistant. You can't just put that prompt into ChatGPT and ask them to answer the questions, because it doesn't have the context, because it hasn't watched the video. Another thing that we do have access to in Canvas is using module requirements. And we do sometimes see people do this. In some cases, it may be useful to kind of require completion in a certain chronological order. And I think we've done a Tech Talks on this a while ago. Can't remember when. Assignment doesn't unlock until students have done X, Y, and Z. And that could include clicking on the video. The problem is all that requires is clicking on the video, not necessarily watching the entire video. So we can, lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, right? We can make them click on it, but unless they are required to engage with it in order to complete an assignment, many of them will not finish watching the video. And modular requirements does have potential pitfalls if designed incorrectly. We have seen sometimes students get stuck in an endless loop of requirements where they can't complete X unless they've done Y, but Y is already closed, so now they can't move forward. So it has its time and its place in certain ways, but it's not like the most effective way to get a student to watch a video. In my mind, the most effective way is to tie the video content to activities and learning outcomes. Tom says, I'm not watching my instructor's recorded class sessions from 2021 that are 90 minutes apiece, 2 times a week. If I can get all the information that I need to complete the work for the week from the PowerPoint deck. This is a true story about a class I'm taking right now. So Tom appears to be one of those ruthlessly efficient online learners. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that is, yeah, like Ben said, it's kind of almost a positive reframing about this. Is it's not that students are unprepared. It's not that they're inattentive, although sometimes that may be the case. but it's more they are trying to figure out what is the best use of their time, which is a limited resource for them. And watching a 90-minute video that is then not assessed in any way is probably not it, at least not from their point of view.
I can meet the objectives without having to do that. Well, yeah, do that,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I have 3 minutes left, so that's perfect. My last slide is just some really basic best practices, super simple ones. There's no magic here, but keeping videos to 12 minutes or less, usually a good idea. Again, it's not a cut and dry number for every situation. There may be cases where a longer video is necessary. There may be cases where a shorter video is necessary. But as a rule of thumb, 12 minutes or less is probably a good starting point. A really important one that I don't think we talk enough about is prioritizing clear audio quality. After I'm done here, I'm going to publish in the FactDev module, along with the slide deck, a link to a short video that our media production specialist, Rick Sir, made a couple of years ago, where he kind of walks through some of the ways that you can improve the audio of your lecture videos. And a really basic but important point that he made at the beginning of that is you can watch a video if the video quality is bad, but it's really hard to watch a video if the audio quality is bad. It's also kind of an accessibility issue, right? Bad audio is also really hard to caption. So if you are going to spend time and effort on anything, I would say start with audio quality. And Cassie just handed me some cute little guys here that we love. I don't even remember the brand of this. It's just like a cheap no-name Amazon brand, right?
Yeah.
But these days you can get these very simple little wire. I don't even know if you can see this very well. Probably you can't. Let's see if I can zoom way in on this. How far can we go?
Very far.
Pretty far.
You
Right over
hold it
there.
Against your forehead. It should
There we go.
have-
So
Panelist
this is just a very, oh, it's backwards. Oh, there we go. Okay. This is just a very simple lav mic and USB plug-in. This plugs into your computer. It connects wirelessly to this microphone. You plug this in onto your shirt or your lapel. I mean, you can even kind of hold it, I think, if you really want to. But this produces excellent quality video. And how much did this thing cost?
That was $4.
$4. You got it.
I mean, I got it at Bin.
But like,
Spokane Bin.
but you could buy it new on Amazon for like 20 bucks.
Yeah, like $20.
10?
10.
Yeah.
Your
Okay.
department can buy it.
So like the hardware is not expensive anymore.
You can see what the
I
brand
don't
is.
think it even has a brand.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah,
one of
it's
those-
just a wireless lav mic.
If you literally just search wireless lav mic on Amazon or anywhere, you'll find dozens of these.
Yeah.
Um,
They all work the same.
and they all work the same. The technology is not complicated. The hardware inside of this is probably 50 cents worth of electronics. But something like that is already going to be a big improvement over just relying on the microphone in your webcam, or older microphones that you might have laying around. Even like, I don't know, like a Yeti microphone, an old one, a 10-year-old Yeti microphone, probably not much better than one of
Yeah,
these.
this is,
Then also watch Rick's video, because a lot of it is just like, how do you reduce environmental noises? How do you think about those things before you start recording? Audio, that's the number one thing that you should do. Again, demonstrations whenever possible. Yes, lecture recording is valuable. Demonstration, simulation, screen recording, and watch it and then do it kinds of videos are far more useful and valuable for students. And then consider embedded quiz questions or integrating your video into your assignment in a way that kind of requires students to engage with those videos, rather than keeping them separate of, here's a video, here's a PowerPoint, here's an assignment that may or may not be related to those videos. Embed it, integrate it with your assessment.
It's almost like you build the efficiency, don't make your student try to find efficiency in what you build.
Sure.
thinking about it.
I mean, that is, yeah, totally. It kind of goes back to this idea of like, one definition of busy work is lack of alignment. If you don't understand the way content aligns with assessment, then it feels like busy work. That's the student perception of it. So by making that alignment clear, making that integration clear, then it is going to feel less like busy work and they're more likely to do it. And that is my 30 minutes.
Yep.
Okay. And also my computer's clock now says the right time, which makes no sense at all.
I think we traveled through time.
I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
That's everything I have on my slide deck. If we have any questions, comments, disagreements, I would love to chat about those for a few minutes before we say goodbye, if anybody wants to. Otherwise, yeah, thanks for coming, everybody.
I did want to mention something really quickly about
Yeah.
Panopto videos. Like,
Oh, yeah.
so you can embed quiz questions, right? So people might want to require students to watch a video before they get to something else, right? So like, I'm going to demonstrate this to you, and then you can go take the safety quiz, right? I'm going to demonstrate safety practices in the lab, and now you can go take the safety quiz, and then I'll actually ask you to demonstrate it once you're in class, something like that. Panopto does have a feature now in the assignment when you make a Panopto video as an assignment to give students a grade based on the percentage watched of the video.
I have seen that, yeah.
But be very careful pairing that with a module requirement where it requires sequential progress, because it takes 3 hours for the grade to populate back to Canvas.
Ooh.
Once the student, so like if you say you must watch this video and get 100% on it, because that is 100% of
Watched, yeah.
the 100% watched, right? Then they can't move on. You need to set the due date on that, like a minimum of 3 hours prior to when they need to be able to access the thing that's below it, right?
Mm.
So there is a way to require somebody to engage with the video and watch 100% of it. But again, like, not just the mechanical limitations, but also be careful with that, because like for someone like for me, for example, with the class that I'm taking right now, I would rather, jump out the window than watch this terrible recording of a Zoom session that somebody made when they pivoted to online teaching during COVID. Right. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. And like, I can see I can see the names of the students who were in the class, which is a FERPA problem. Like, there's so many problems with this. What? Yeah, it's totally different topic.
Yeah.
But like, I'm just imagining if my instructor tried to force me to watch that, I would be putting her on 2.5 times speed and walking away.
Right.
Right.
Well,
like
exactly.
It has to be like, if you do that kind of requirement, it has to be motivated, it has to be engaged, and it has to be necessary and not obligatory, right? Like, in the way that frequently our lectures in a classroom in a live session are obligatory, right? Like, people come because they have to come. They're not engaged. They're not hooked in unless you're making sure that they're hooked in some way. The videos, that's kind of the same. Like, you gotta figure out what works in that medium to keep people kind of hooked, right? Maybe it is mapping out or like forecasting the content in like the first 20 seconds or whatever. Yeah. Anyway,
that's a really, I did not realize that about the amount of time it takes for Panopto to send things to the grade book. So that's really good to know.
It is exactly 3 hours, right? You can go in and look, right?
Oh,
yeah, the person finishes watching, and you can actually watch the grade pop in. Like, you can go and look at gradebook history and see that it was exactly 3 hours later when it came over.
That's good to know.
At least at the last time I checked, which was in the spring.
Okay, good to know. I've seen that option for the presented watch, but I've always told people not to do that, especially because it's so, again, like you said, I'm going to hit play and I'm going to walk away and make a sandwich. I'm not going to sit there and watch it just because it's being graded. If anything, I'm more likely to do that because if I were watching it for knowledge or for concepts or for instruction, I'm going to bounce around. I'm going to rewatch things. I'm going to skip over parts. If I feel like I've gotten it, I'm probably going to stop watching, or maybe I'll come back and watch it later. So I in my mind, that grading by completion percentage is kind of asking for trouble. Beverly has a question in the chat. you say video is best for demonstration, but what is best for concepts or conceptual knowledge? I think, again, from the research that I've read, there is still value to recording that kind of content. It's better to provide a slide deck and text and a video than it is to provide just any one of those things. But I don't know, I'm curious if anybody else has any thoughts on that.
I mean, from my perspective, when I was teaching in the humanities, a lot of what I did was concept-based learning, right?
Yeah.
I was explaining insert ism here.
Yeah.
And I was diagramming a lot of that stuff. So it was, in a way, demonstration. And so I think for me, it made sense because I was using, at the time, it was I was a Rocketbook notebook and a camera that just was down on it. And it was mapping out concepts. It was connecting frameworks to other things. It was, you know, this is an umbrella and here's what's under it. So it seemed like it still in practice worked. It just needed, it was just a different framing for me in the instructional moment, to think about these things not as, you know, bullet points, but rather like kind of movable objects for my students. And I was sometimes explaining really complex concepts like intersectionality, and it's a diagram.
Yeah, you draw that.
Yeah, you draw that.
Yeah.
So that's what I would, and I would show them that I would draw it out for them. I wouldn't even like kind of have a pre-drawn one because that wasn't useful in the process.
Well, again, like going back to that authenticity versus production, I would rather watch somebody draw that diagram on a whiteboard and talk about it as they go, rather than just show me a slick infographic that was prepared earlier in many cases. I think another thing maybe to think about is you can go back, you can pair concepts with application, concepts with demonstration. So you can go back and forth. Yes, you could have some slides giving that conceptual information. And then you say, okay, this is what it looks like in practice. And that could be, again, for English or literature, humanities, that could be a close reading of something where you are physically circling, highlighting text and talking about it as you go. That's so much more valuable than just talking about the concept and then moving on, I feel.
My students called it my murder board. Because it was essentially like just concept to concept.
I love a good murder board.
It was a good murder board.
I've done this with visual rhetoric in like an English 101 class where I was like, okay, we're going to break down advertising for we're going to rhetorically analyze an advertisement. And so I was like, okay, we're going to do this because that was going to be what their essay was. They were going to find an ad to analyze rhetorically. I was like, okay, we're going to do men's cologne. And so I like did a screenshot of a cologne advertisement for Stetson. And I was like, okay, what's going on here? Where do we enter in visually? Who does this appeal to? Whose gaze is this sort of working on? How can we tell who the customer base is from the manifestation in the rhetorical sort of visual? And I did that as a screen capture, and I was like using my mouse pointer, just kind of going, and over here, here's, you know, Tom Brady, and here's, you know, whatever. And I did it twice. Like I said, here's a set of questions. This is what we're going to do. And I broke it into like 6 little videos for each ad. And so it was like a module in Canvas where they tracked through, and it's like, okay, here's the first question. Here's the second question. And that's me sort of going through each video. And then at the end, there was a homework assignment where they had to do this with an ad that I picked out. And then later they would be doing this with an ad that they found on their own and analyzed on their own without me. So it was like, I'm demonstrating rhetorical analysis and close reading for you with a particular kind of text. Right. I luckily never had a blind student in that class when I taught it that way, but I don't know what I would have done. Right. Like it wouldn't have worked. But yeah, I mean, that's a way that you could kind of do this in the humanities. Like you could do that with a text too, show text annotation. Right. There's all kinds of like, so I'm introducing the concept and also making them apply it as we go, right? Like, and showing how I would apply it, like how I would master reading in this way, right? So it's kind of like reading apprenticeship too, how to read in a discipline.
I could also imagine pairing that with something that we talked about a couple weeks ago, student recording. So you could demonstrate that process of deconstructing an ad, doing some media literacy tasks, and then the student's assignment is to do the same thing and record themselves doing it. Because then, again, you're not just seeing the finished product, you are observing their thought process as they go through it. And I think there's a ton of value to that. And again, highly resistant to AI misuse. Yeah. Unless we have any other big thoughts or questions, I think that's probably good for today. Thanks for coming, everybody. Sorry I started early, but I'm glad we were all here together. Next week, we are talking about color in Canvas. Talking about using color or when not to use color for design. Talking about accessibility concerns with that. And then, yeah, I think it'll be a good one. And then also 2 weeks from now, then Cassie, you're going to be doing kind of the teach talks that goes along with that, more about visual meaning and how students perceive color, like emotionally and cognitively and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
there's
those
a
should.
2-week gap because.
Oh, that's right.
Veterans Day.
That's right. Yes, I think so. I think that's why we did that. So
Yeah.
There's a reason.
next week, tech talks. Following week, nothing. Following week, teach talks. All right. Thanks for coming, everybody. I'm going to stop the live stream.
Good seeing y'all.
Bye, all.
For joining us in person.
We never get in person.
See under the hood.
I like to meet people.
Good.